I woke up to a faint humming outside my remote mountain cabin, 9,000 feet above civilization, and discovered my crazy neighbor had drilled straight into my off-grid solar system and was stealing thousands of dollars in electricity for months. When I finally confronted her, she smirked, dialed 911, and told the police I was the one threatening her. 30 minutes later, 2 deputies stood in my driveway while she screamed that I was dangerous. What happened the second? I reached for my main breaker box, turned her smug grin into pure panic, and the officer's jaws dropped. Keep watching, because the moment I flipped that switch changed everything. 3 years ago, I left the city for good. I sold everything, bought 20 acres of raw mountain land at 9,000 feet, and built a small off-grid cabin with my own hands. Solar panels on the roof, batteries in the shed, a quiet ridge where the only sounds were wind and ravens. No neighbors in sight, or so I thought. Half a mile down the single dirt track lived Linda, early 60s. Bleached hair, always in yoga pants and a visor. Even at 6 a.m., she'd moved here after her divorce, claiming she wanted solitude and nature. Everyone on the mountain knew she actually wanted control. She'd appointed herself the unofficial enforcer of the loose property owners group that passed for an HOA up. Here, no real bylaws, no elected board. Just Linda and her clipboard. For the first year, she left me alone. I kept to myself, waved when our trucks passed, even helped drag her SUV out of a snowdrift once. I thought we had an understanding, live and let live. Then one morning, I noticed my batteries were draining faster than normal. Even on sunny weeks, I chalked it up to winter, shorter days, maybe a failing cell. I had no idea someone was quietly siphoning my power, or that Linda was about to make my quiet mountain life a living nightmare. For weeks, I tracked the power drain like a detective. Every morning, my inverter showed 15-20, sometimes 30% less juice than the panel should have produced. At first, I blamed cold temperatures, then a loose connection. I replaced cables, swapped charge controllers, even climbed the roof in a January blizzard to clear snow off the arrays. Nothing helped. Then one February dawn, flashlight in hand, I followed a faint new hum that definitely wasn't mine. The sound led me past my property line through pine trees, to a thick orange extension cord snaking out of the duff like a venomous snake. It disappeared under Linda's deck. I stood there in -10 air, staring at a 10-gauge cord plugged straight into my battery shed. Someone had drilled a hole through my wall while I was away in town for supplies. A single padlock I never used hung open like it was laughing at me. I wish I could say I stayed calm. I didn't. I yanked the cord so hard the plug tore out of her outdoor outlet, sparks spitting across her deck boards. That's when she threw open the sliding door in her robe, eyes wild. "What the hell do you think you're doing on my property?" she screamed. I held up the severed cord. "You've been stealing my electricity for months, Linda. Thousands of dollars." She didn't even blink. "Prove it." That afternoon, she started the war. First came the texts, anonymous numbers at first, then openly from her. "Take down those ugly solar panels. They're lowering property values. Your cabin is technically a shed zoning violation. I'm reporting you for running an illegal business. I work remotely." My Starlink dish offended her. Next, the signs appeared on the dirt road. "Danger, unpermitted structure ahead." She printed them on bright pink paper and stapled them to every tree between our places. Then the official letters started, arriving on fake letterhead she'd designed herself. Black Ridge Property Owners Association. She claimed I owed 3 years of back dues, an association that didn't exist until she typed it up the night before. The fines piled up: $500 for unesthetic battery shed, $250 for excessive exterior lighting, 1 porch bulb, $1,000 for environmental disturbance, because my composting toilet supposedly threatened the watershed. I ignored them. "That was a mistake," she escalated. Every time I left for town, she'd be waiting with her phone, filming me like I was a criminal. She called the county sheriff so often they started recognizing my address. Deputies would show up, shrug, tell her there was no real HOA and leave. She'd scream that they were incompetent and post the body cam footage online with captions like, "Local man threatens female resident." My batteries kept dying faster. I installed a game camera pointed at the shed. Clear 4K footage, 2 a.m. Linda in a headlamp, new cord in hand, drilling a second hole because I'd patched the first. I locked the shed, added steel plates, chained everything. She responded by dumping a bucket of human waste on my driveway, proof that my composting toilet had overflowed. County health inspector came out, saw my setup was perfect, and left shaking his head. The final straw came in April. I woke up to silence, no fridge hum, no lights. Someone had thrown my main disconnect switch and padlocked it open. My entire system was dead. 2,000 pounds of lithium batteries completely drained. Replacement cost, 28 grand. That same morning, a new pink sign went up at the bottom of my road. Foreclosure sale, June 1st. Property seized for unpaid HOA assessments. She was trying to take my home. I sat on my porch with a cup of cold coffee and stared at the mountains I'd fought so hard to reach. Then I walked to my breaker panel, smiled for the first time in months, and started planning, because she'd made one critical mistake. Every watt she'd ever stolen had run through my inverter first. And I still had the logs. What happened next left her standing in freezing water, screaming, while 2 sheriff's deputies watched the evidence. I'd been collecting for 6 months. But I'm getting ahead of myself. May 12th, a warm spring morning. I'd spent the night awake. Inverter logs printed, time-stamped photos stacked, game camera memory card in my pocket like a loaded gun. At 9:03 a.m. I heard her shower start, same time every day. She loved long, hot showers now that my solar array was hers. The meter I'd secretly installed on her hidden line showed 4,800 watts pouring into her house, water heater, baseboards, even the jacuzzi she'd bragged about on her Facebook. I walked outside, opened the main breaker box, and waited. 10 minutes later, her silver SUV came flying up my driveway, kicking gravel like bullets. Linda jumped out, still dripping, towel turban slipping, screaming that I'd assaulted her by cutting her power mid-shower. She already had 911 on speaker. Send deputies right now. He's violent and he's tampering with my utilities. 2 sheriff's trucks rolled in 5 minutes later. Same deputies who'd been out half a dozen times before. They looked exhausted before they even stepped out. Linda launched into her performance. Tears, shaking hands, the works. He's been harassing me for months. I feared for my life. I didn't say a word. I just handed the sergeant the folder. Inside, 6 months of inverter logs, showing exact times and kilowatt hours leaving my system, and never returning. Still frames of her drilling, splicing, running new cords at 2 a.m. A county assessor's letter confirming no legal HOA existed, and the money shot. A live feed from the meter I'd installed on her illegal tap, showing 4,800 watts flowing into her house at the exact moment her power mysteriously died. The sergeant scrolled through the tablet I handed him. His partner walked over to Linda's house, followed the orange cord under her deck, and lifted the access panel she'd hidden behind fake rocks. Dead silence except for the wind. Linda went pale. The towel slipped off her head completely. "Ma'am," the sergeant said, voice flat. "This is felony theft of utilities and criminal tampering. Turn around." As the cuffs clicked, she started shrieking that I'd framed her, that I was the real criminal. The deputies just read her rights louder. I stood there on my porch, coffee finally warm in my hand, watching the woman who tried to steal my home get loaded into the back of a cruiser, in fuzzy slippers and a bathrobe. That was the moment the mountain went perfectly, beautifully quiet again. But the best part, the part that still makes me smile, was what the county did to her next. Linda spent 2 nights in county jail and walked out facing felony theft charges. The prosecutor offered a plea, restitution, 5 years probation, and a permanent no-contact order. She took it the same day. Within 6 weeks, $42,000, every stolen kilowatt hour plus the cost of my drained batteries, hit my bank account. The judge also ordered her to remove every fake HOA sign within 48 hours or face contempt. A month later, her house went up for sale. The listing photos carefully avoided any shot of my ridge. She was gone before the snow fell. I upgraded to a bigger battery bank, buried my lines in conduit, and added a loud alarm that sounds like an air raid siren if anyone so much as breathes on the shed. Nobody ever has. The mountain is quiet again. My panels hum, the ravens argue, and I drink coffee on the porch without looking over my shoulder. Here's what I learned the hard way. The second someone starts inventing rules to control you, document everything. Cameras, logs, timestamps. Evidence is the only neighbor that never betrays you, because out here or anywhere, The moment you prove they're the criminal, the whole game flips, and the person who tried to take your piece ends up losing theirs. Have you ever had someone try to bully you out of what's yours? Drop your story below. I read every single one.